Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hi everyone, welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to discuss how to derive IS curve, IS schedule and IS curve, and then we will be examining what are the factors that determine the slope of the IS curve, and as well as we also discuss the factors that determine the position of the IS curve. About the IS curve is also called as the goose market equilibrium. So, the IS curve shows the combination of interest rates and the level of income we mean output here, such that planned aggregate spending, that is the aggregate demand equals aggregate income. So, here we derive the IS schedule or IS curve by in a two-step procedure. First one, first examining the link between interest rates and investment, and subsequently in the second stage the link between investment and income, investment demand and income. So, in the Keynesian, unlike in the simple Keynesian model, in the IS model we assume investment is no longer treated as exogenous variable, that means not an autonomous variable, but in the previous simple Keynesian model we treat investment is an autonomous variable, but unlike that in the IS model we introduce money market as well, and then subsequently we consider investment also depend upon interest rate as well. This is determined within the system, within the model. So, especially about the investment demand, you know the relationship between investment demand and rate of interest. You know that there is a inverse relationship, that means higher the rate of interest, lower will be the investment demand, because the cost of production, right, because interest is one of the cost component of production, that means the cost of borrowing money. So, since increase interest rate raise the price to firms of borrowing for capital equipment, so that means that would reduce, as a result there will be a reduction in the quantity of investment demand. So, in short there is a inverse relationship between rate of interest and investment demand. So, let us start the construction of the IS schedule. The condition for equilibrium in the product market is we know that aggregate demand is equal to C plus I plus G, and equivalently, since we already seen that in aggregate Y aggregate supply is equal to Y aggregate demand, where we have already written that aggregate demand is equal to C plus I plus G and aggregate supply is equal to C plus S plus T, right. This one we have written C plus S plus T, this one we already defined, that means this one is C plus I plus G. So, that means C is constant, so then we can see that I plus G is equal to S plus T. And considering a simplified case that omits government sector, that assuming that government expenditure is equal to 0, tax is equal to 0, that means omitting the government sector, we can rewrite this equation as I is equal to, because we take G and T as 0, then we can write I is equal to S, right. So, in the case of I, you know that I is that investment is a function of rate of interest. You know that there is a inverse relationship, higher the rate of interest, lower will be the investment demand, and that means it's a function of rate of interest. And savings, the household savings is a function of the income, right. So, obviously the saving is a function of income, higher the income, higher will be the saving, and there is a positive relationship between saving and income. So, finally we can say that IR is equal to SY. So from this deriving the relationship, starting with the inverse relationship between investment and rate of interest, that you can see that consider an interest rate R naught, considering an interest rate R naught, you know that the investment demand is I naught. Large, because the very low rate of interest, you can see that there is large demand for, vast demand for investment, right. So for this level of investment, then the amount, the investment is the amount of I naught are shown in this schedule. So in order to generate this, again look at this, when the rate of interest increase to R1, investment decline to when the rate of interest increase, you can see that investment is going to be I1, and further if the rate of interest further increase to R2, the investment decrease to I2. Now let us consider the first case, initial position of R naught. When the rate of interest is R naught, you can see that investment is I naught, and the point here is that in order to finance this much investment, and what is the source of investment? The finance for the fund for investment. Investment is generated through saving, because saving is the necessary condition, the source of this investment. So that means if rate of interest is R naught, I naught is the investment, desired investment. So in order to generate this much investment, that I naught, saving must increase, that corresponding to I naught, you can see that saving must increase to this much. That means in order to convert generate I naught, we need equivalent S naught of saving. So look at schedule, the diagram, second diagram, this one. On the y axis we are putting saving, and on the x axis we are putting y. Since we already familiar now that saving is a function of income, there is a positive relationship. So in the first case, where here we are seeing that when the rate of interest is R naught, you can see that I naught is the investment. So in order to generate this much I naught investment, we need saving S naught saving. So this S naught saving is require this much income, right, because total income is equal to C plus S. Right, total income here we can put that means disposable income. So C plus S we can put here. So this is coming from this much income is required. So that means in order to generate this much saving, in order to finance I naught investment, Y naught level of income is required, right. So that means the second diagram shows that S naught saving is possible through Y naught level of income. What if rate of interest increase, that is R1 in this first diagram, then you know that investment will be declining to I1, then in this case I1 require only S1 amount of saving, that means this S1 is less than S naught. So correspondingly only Y naught level of income is required. Further, when the rate of interest increase to R2, then you know that corresponding investment is I2, that means I2 require S2 level of saving. So S2 level of saving it will come from Y2 level of income. So what we have shown in the second diagram is the positive relationship between saving and income. Now transforming all these variables into, that means the corresponding, for example, when the rate of interest is R naught, we know that investment is I naught, the corresponding saving is S naught, and corresponding level of income is Y naught. So putting this one, that means transforming this one into another diagram, making relationship between interest rate and this income, that is interest rate on the Y axis and income on the X axis. You know that R naught investment, R naught level of rate of interest require Y naught level of income, and similarly R1 rate of interest require only Y1 level of income, and R2 rate of interest require Y2 level of income. So converge in that linking this one, making a relationship, you can see that there is a inverse relationship we can derive here, rate of interest and income. That means we can derive an IS curve from this diagram, that the first diagram and the second diagram, and then where we can see an inverse relationship between rate of interest and the level of income. So this is the IS curve. So summarizing here, we can see that the IS curve is derived from the first two diagrams, two curves, and then we plot the IS curve as a relationship between rate of interest and income, and then we can see that there is an inverse relationship between both. So that means when the rate of interest is R naught, we need Y naught level of income, and when the rate of interest is high, then we need only Y2 level of income. So that in this market we can see that saving is equal to investment. So and each and every point along this curve denotes product market equilibrium. Product, that we mean saving and investment here, the output market equilibrium each and every point. What does it mean? For example, when the rate of interest is low, we are seeing that at a low rate of interest R naught, the income is very high. What does it mean? So the economic intuition behind here is at a low rate of interest, investment demand increases. Right, investment demand increases, so that equivalently saving level, a large amount of saving is required when the investment increases in order to finance that. So in order to ensure that that much saving can come from income, right? Why? So that means when the rate of interest is low, investment demand increases, and the corresponding level of saving has to be generated, which is possible from the corresponding level of income. So that means low level of rate of interest, investment demand increases, saving must, so that saving must increase, and as for that the income must also increase. So that means again in order to make the saving is equal to investment, that is the product market in equilibrium, when the rate of interest decrease, in order to generate sufficient amount, equivalent amount of, because when this rate of interest decrease, investment increases, and in order to generate the sufficient amount of saving, the income must also increase. So that means when the saving rate of interest decrease, income must increase, so that product market will be in equilibrium. So that is why we are getting an inverse relation, the negative slope for the IS schedule. Now including government sector as well, because the first diagram what we are shown that only investment is a function of rate of interest. Now what we can do, that we can also add government expenditure as well, then that means the aggregate demand curve shift rightwards. Now it also represent government expenditure as well. Suppose at this rate, this much is the investment demand, and if we at this point this is the investment demand, so then accordingly we write this diagram. What if we include this much government expenditure, this is autonomous, so as a result you can see that the curve will be shifting to this much, that means this much distance it shifts. So that means that the IS curve, I curve, investment curve plus government spending is denoted in this first plane, first diagram. Then accordingly you can also see that government expenditure is normally financed through taxes, so equivalently tax also increases, so that I naught plus G is equal to S naught plus T. So accordingly you can write this is our new diagram showing income with the level of income with saving and tax, both are denoted on the y axis. Saving plus taxes are given on the y axis here. So then we know that when the rate of interest decrease, investment increase, level of income, saving must increase, so that in order to finance that, income also must increase. So that we can say that this is the we can find out the IS schedule, new IS schedule, again it is downward sloping. Let's now derive the IS equation. Prior to that, let's have a quick overview of the simple Keynesian model which we had discussed in the previous session. So I am just showing you only here, just displaying here in the slide. That means aggregate demand is this, then we have expanded what is consumption, then we have rewritten elaborated that the aggregate demand is equal to C plus I plus G, then elaborating this and solving for y, and finally we found equilibrium income can be denoted with this equation. That means y bar is equal to 1 by 1 minus b, where we have mentioned that b is margin of propensity to consume, that we have discussed in the previous class. That is b is margin of propensity to consume, and remaining the margin of propensity to save is also there, that is called 1 minus b is equal to, both is equal to 1. Right, this is called, we write it shortly, MPC, margin of propensity to consume, and 1 minus b is margin of propensity to save, that equal to, both equal to, summing this we will getting 1. So this also considers the simple Keynesian multiplier. On the right hand side, these are all the autonomous variables, that A is the intercept, even when the income is 0, there will be some level of consumption, that is denoted by A. T is tax, I is, here actually this is autonomous consumption, what in the simple Keynesian model, I is just an autonomous consumption, G is government expenditure. So in order to see any change in, for example, government expenditure, we can see due to change in government expenditure, income will increase 1 by 1 minus b, that is a multiplier times government expenditure. Right. For example, you can see the del y is equal to 1 by 1 minus b, that is a multiplier times del g. So this is the simple Keynesian model. Let us see how this can be expanded into an IS model. So in the simple Keynesian model, what we are going to see, that the simple Keynesian model, we assume that there is only autonomous component of investment, but in the IS model we also bring money market into the picture. Then here investment, total investment is a function of that, is equal to autonomous component is I bar minus, there is a inverse relationship between rate of interest and investment, that is called interest rate induced investment. That one is denoted with this one, that means rate of interest negatively related, that investment negatively related to rate of interest, that means this component. So here I1 is greater than 0, that means induced component is greater than 0. In the IS model we also bring, that means we decompose the total investment into autonomous, and that is, this is autonomous, and another, this one is interest rate induced component. Right. In the simple Keynesian model we only assumed that a autonomous component, no interest induced component. So the saving is equal to, you know that y is equal to c plus s, so then s is equal to, you can see that s is equal to y minus c, so accordingly you can rewrite s is equal to, what is the c, you can take the consumption function, then you can rewrite it accordingly like this. So finally for the equilibrium, we said that I plus g should be equal to s plus t, then rewriting I as this autonomous and interest rate induced component plus g, we can rewrite it like in this way, we can rewrite it in this way. Then finally IS equation, the necessary condition is, that I plus g should be equal to s plus t. We can rewrite the IS equation in this way, where you can write y is equal to 1 by 1 minus b times a plus I bar plus g minus bt minus 1 I1 r divided by 1 minus b. So this is the IS equation that we derived. We are just adding this component to this, that means we are bringing money market also in the picture. That means the autonomous, not only the autonomous component of investment, but also the interest rate induced component as well we are bringing here. Let us see the slope of the IS curve, because in the IS schedule we write like this, here a rate of interest, here a level of income. So the curve is like this. We know that the sign is inverse, the inverse relationship. So the slope of the curve, that means del r divided by del y is equal to, we need to find out from here. So what we can find here is that from this, the del y, you can see the del y part, you can take it actually this del y corresponding to del r, but we are getting the inverse of the slope. So what we need is actually instead of del r del y, so for here del y divided by del r, we are getting minus I1 divided by 1 minus b, but the slope is this one, that del r divided by del y. So that then we will be getting the slope as inverse, that 1 minus b divided by I1. So the slope of the IS, that del r divided by del y, we are getting this one. So this is the slope of the IS schedule. Slope of the IS is, you can see that 1 minus b is nothing but marginal propensity to save MPS, and I1 is the interest elasticity of investment. This is interest elasticity of investment. So these are the slopes of the two variable that determining the slope of IS schedule. So summary, the understanding the IS curve slope, IS curve is negatively sloped. A fall in the interest rate motivates firms to increase investment spending, which drives up a total planned spending. Spending means here total investment. So to restore, that means in this case you can say that investment is increasing. So when only investment is increasing, then you can see that investment is going to be greater than saving. So in order to restore this equilibrium in the goods market, saving must also increase. So in order to, for that, income also must increase, right? Income must also increase. So in order to restore equilibrium in the goods market, output must increase. So that is the economic induction why IS curve is negatively sloped. So coming to the factors that determine in the slope of the IS schedule, there are two factors that one we just shown there. One is saving function, that is marginal propensity to save, and the other one we have seen the interest elasticity. So let us call it both in this term, that means interest elasticity of investment, let's call investment function, and marginal propensity to save, let's call saving function. So coming to the first part, interest elasticity of investment, what if assume two scenario. One, the interest elasticity of investment is very inelastic. Another case is, one case is it is very inelastic, and another case is it is very highly elastic. So in this diagram, the part 1 investment schedule, this diagram, that means this investment curve, it is very steep, that means this is very inelastic, relatively inelastic. This one is inelastic, and this I1 curve, this is more elastic. So what does it mean? Inelastic means, inelastic you can look at from here, even when the rate of interest decrease from R1 to R2, in the case of inelastic investment curve, you can see that here only a small increase in investment, right? From when the rate of interest change from decline from R1 to R2, investment increase only from I1 to I2. That means the interest elasticity of investment is inelastic. In contrast, what if the interest elasticity of investment is very elastic? Then you can see that a decline in rate of interest from R1 to R2, you can see investment has increased from I1 to I2 here into this much increase in investment. So you can see here that corresponding to this one, in the first case, you know that since in when the interest elasticity of investment is inelastic, there was only a small increase in investment, so that only a small increase in saving is required, so that only a small similar, so correspondingly a small increase in income is required. But if the interest elasticity of investment is very high, elastic, then you know that there is small decrease in rate of interest, there is large increase in investment, so that the corresponding increase in saving also must be high, which can be generated from which needs a large increase in income. That means we are as denoted by this much. this much increase in income is required. So, in both cases, if we assume interest elasticity of investment is inelastic, then our IS curve is going to be very steep. In contrast to this, if interest elasticity of investment is elastic, then the IS curve is going to be very flat. So, second factor is saving function. In the case of saving function, it means what if the marginal propensity to save. For suppose we already seen that MPC plus MPS is equal to 1. Assume that 0.8 is MPC and 0.2 is MPS. So, and initially I will take two scenario. In one case, MPS, that the marginal propensity to save is 0.2. In another cases, MPS is going to be, for example, 0.9. So, in case 1, when the marginal propensity to save is small, in this case, due to change in rate of interest, a large increase in income is required to finance the saving, because we know that when the rate of interest decrease, we know that investment will be increasing, then what we need, saving must increase. So, in this case, when the proportion only 20% of the, when the MPS is 2 means MPS is 0.2, it means only 20% of the income will be used for saving purpose, right. So, that means here say a large increase in income is required, a large increase in income is required when the MPS is small. In contrast to this, what if MPS is very high, 0.9. So, in this case we can say same storyline, rate of interest increase, investment increase, saving increase, but since the marginal propensity to save is 0.9, that is 90% of the income will be saved, that means only a small increase in income is required, a small increase in R is required to generate the necessary amount of level of savings. So, that means saving function influence in this way, that means when the MPS is very high, a small increase increase in income is required, so that product market is in equilibrium, that means I is equal to S, right. In contrast to that, if the MPS is very small, for a rate of interest decrease in rate of interest, in order to generate necessary amount of saving, a large increase in income is required, so that necessary amount of saving can be generated. This is a numerical example of calculating that estimating the IS curve. I have given here C, the values of C, I and G, and you can plug this value in this equation, and then accordingly you can find out the values. So, here you will be finding the IS equation, either you can solve it for the level of income or you can solve it for the rate of interest. So, in the next session we are going to discuss what are the factors that shape the IS schedule. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next session. Thank you.